In this video, I'm going to show you how I turned a regular apartment wall into a fully soundproofed studio wall, all DIY. It was a crucial step in creating a perfectly silent environment, bringing the sound entry from 70 decibels down to under 20. Hi there, if you're new around here, my name is Brennauer. I'm a musician and content creator. Now, let's get started. Part 1. The planning. To give you a better idea, let me quickly show you the walls. So as you can see, this is the wall to the outside on the left side, and this is a very thick wall. It's brick. Back there is the same wall. The back wall of my studio is located over here, and we have 1, 2, 3 walls until we hit the neighbor's apartment. The only wall left is the one right here, going to my apartment, where somebody's living with me. Andreas Grenz came to measure and assess the room, and he determined that 3 of the 4 walls were already good enough to provide sufficient soundproofing. So only 1 of the 4 walls needed soundproofing. Let's rewind for a moment and take a look at what we were planning to do. One aspect of our soundproofing concept is to build a second wall in front of this wall, which will decouple the studio from this wall, transferring even less sound into this wall. The plan was to build a simple drywall construction with one open side to the original ceiling and a doubled layer drywall on the studio side. One little detail that gave us a bit of a headache was the radiator that used to be on this wall. Reinstalling wasn't really an option, since the radiator on the other side of the studio, back there, was going to be removed, which would leave the room with only one small radiator. I consulted a heating expert to explore options and rerouted the heating pipes so that the radiator could be mounted on the other wall. Radiator holes, the new ones, these are the old ones, and now we have one that is more wide than high. The first step, removing the old wallpaper. The exterior walls were really annoying because of this special insulation wallpaper which had foam backing. I was super thankful that my sister was there to help me get it off. Once the wallpaper was gone, and fast forwarding after the electronics were installed, we filled the slots, plastered the wall, painted it white, and that's really all there is to say about these 3 walls. Phase 2. Constructing the soundproof wall. Let's quickly head over to construction layout. Down here you can already see we removed already the first centimeters, and it will have about 1 centimeters of empty space behind that. Contact points can transmit sound, so leaving an air gap is essential for a soundproof wall. Secondly, air itself also works as an acoustic or soundproofing element. This is also true when you build your standard hanging wall absorber. You can achieve better acoustic performance if you don't place your absorber directly against the wall, but leave a little space in front of it. Step 1. The frame. When I brought in the profiles, I got lucky. Thanks to a crane we used for the apartment renovation, I didn't have to carry them up to the 2nd floor. After bringing them in, I cut them. I used regular U-shaped aluminium profiles for the framing. For the intermediate ones, I used these so-called C profiles. They fit into the U profiles and hold the insulation in place. At the door frame though, I didn't use the aluminium ones because they would have been too unstable and likely caused the door to fall off. Instead, I used much stronger steel profiles, which were connected using steel brackets. Knowing what I did about acoustics, I thought that I could actually decouple the entire wall by gluing the profiles instead of screwing. Additionally, a friend of our family suggested to decouple the profiles using washing machine mats. I consulted the acoustician and he considered it a great idea. I prepared the wooden slats, cut them to the right length and mounted them to the beams. Then I glued the washing machine mats onto the slats using silicone. After letting it dry overnight with a bit of pressure from above and below, I glued the U profiles onto the washing machine mats using more silicone. Step 2. insulation material. Normally you would build a drywall attaching one plasterboard to one side, fill the space with your insulation material and add another plasterboard on the other side. Because I was only planking one side of the wall, the rock wool would have collapsed into the air gap. So I came up with the idea of placing wood slats behind the metal profiles to support the rock wool, preventing it to fall back into the air gap. I went out and grabbed some more wooden slats, leftovers from the sawmill, and installed them behind the structure. Once that was done, I could finally start bringing in the rock wool. Step 3. First layer of plasterboard. Already when setting up the profiles, I made sure not to plant smaller pieces like this one near the door frame, since that's where the wall needs the most stability. When making a plasterboard smaller, I beveled the edges at a 45-degree angle, which made it much easier to plaster the joints later. One other key point was ensuring precise cutouts. I had to avoid contact with the ground structure, including the ceiling beams. Even a small contact could cause sound transmissions, so I measured and cut carefully. Once I had installed all the sheets, I began the joining process. First, vacuumed the surface and sprayed it with water to ensure all the dust is removed, and then applied the joint compound. After the compound dried, I sanded it down to a flat surface. Step 5. Second layer. I had to carefully plan the placement so that no two seams would align. Since I was working alone at this point, I came up with the idea to build a small frame that holds the sheets in position. This way, I could align them, make small adjustments, and then mount them securely. Same steps here: mount, vacuum, water, joint, sanding. As you can see, the wall is done. We plastered all the holes for the screws. This is just the first layer of plastering. We will add another layer and then something that is called Feinspachtel. We will sand it again, and then this wall is ready to be painted. I also prepared the bottom of the door. Once the wall was completed and the door frame was prepared, I focused on insulating any gaps at the bottom and around the room. Fast forward, the wall was covered with texture plaster, painted white, and the radiator pipes were insulated. The final step to complete the walls was filling all the remaining edges and gaps with elastic construction silicone. And with that done, I had completed another step of the soundproofing. I was one step closer to building my dream studio. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below and I'm happy to answer them. On your way down there, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps this video perform, which allows me to produce more free content in the future. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I wish you a beautiful day. I gotta go cycling, so have a good one. Bye bye.